Hello, welcome to you all. So, once again, we have come with a new topic that is 8086 microprocessor. Now, before going into the topic, we need to remember that probably we have certain amount of knowledge about 8085 microprocessor itself. So, what I know about 8085 is that it is normally called as, or it is basically called as 8-bit processor. So, what does it mean? It means that the word length of 8085 microprocessor is 8-bit. Now, what is the meaning of the term word length? Word length defines it is the number of bits that a processor can process at a single instant of time. So whatever processor till now we use, it can be 8 bit, 16 bit, 32 bit or 64 bit. So these kind of bit lengths basically define the size of the word that a processor can access at a single instant of time. So as we know, probably in the year of 1971 or 72, Intel Corporation has introduced 8085, and that was a commercially successful 8-bit processor. So after the success of 8085, then Intel thought that we need to proceed into the same domain, which has a little bit more powerful instruction set, some more flexibility. It should have been better if it has multitasking capabilities. So depending upon so many things, the requirement of a better processor came into the picture, and the solution of that was 8086. So remember, 8086 is basically a 16-bit microprocessor. So once again, this 16-bit defined its word length. So before going into details of this particular topic, we need to remember the basic features of 8086 processor. So here I have written some of the features, and as we proceed into the topic, we will gradually discuss all of them one by one. So first thing we need to remember is that it has a 16-bit ALU. ALU is arithmetic logic unit. So ALU is that particular element of the processor within which all the logical, arithmetic and logical and manipulation operations are performed. So ALU is the basic brain. We can understand in this way. Now it's a 16-bit processor, so these 16 numbers might appear here as a coincidence, but it does not mean that. So it's a 16-bit processor whose word length is 16. It has a 16-bit of ALU. Its data bus is also of 16 bits. That means its data bus has 16 lines through which data can flow. So that is why it has 16-bit data buses. But here is the first difference here that we notice, that is it has 20 address lines in its address bus. Now 20 address line means already we know that a single address line can be used to give address to two different memory locations. One can be 0 and another one can be 1. So similarly, if we have two address lines, then we have only four options: 0 0, 0 1, 1 0, 1 1. So in this way, four different memory locations can get four different numbers or addresses. So what is the relation here? If n is the number of address line, then it can provide 2 to the power n number of different locations to different memory registers. So here we have 20 address lines in the address bus. So how many memory registers can have different addresses? The answer is 2 to the power 20. So 2 to the power 20 is equal to 1048576 different memory registers can have different addresses. So that is basically called 1 MB of memory, 1 megabyte. Now this 1 mega basically represent a number. What is that number? The number is this one. Now from where this byte came? Because I have assumed that each memory cell can store 1 byte of information. So this is the number of registers that can be accessed by this processor, and each memory cell can contain 8 bit, that is 1 byte of information. So as a whole, the total memory size that 8086 can access is 1 MB of memory. So that is very important. Remember, when we are talking about 8085, it can access only 64 kilobyte of memory. So here in terms of memory, there is a huge increment in this number, because if we multiply 64 by 16, then it becomes 1 MB. So it is 16 times larger memory that a processor can access right now. So that is the advantage of 8086 over 8085 once again. Now its working principle is it works on the 5 volt DC power source. It is similar like 8085. The working frequency is around 5 megahertz. There are certain versions of 8086 is available which works on up to 10 megahertz. So you should remember, in case of 8085, the working frequency was up to 3 to 5 megahertz. So there is certain change in the working frequency. Now we know if a processor works on a little bit higher amount of frequency, that means it takes a little bit less amount of time to execute a single instruction. So it indicates that with respect to 8085, due to its clock frequency, it is a faster one. Now, the similarity with 8085 is that it is also a 40-pin device that came in DIP package. What is DIP? DIP means dual inline package. So probably you know that it basically looks like in this way. This is the IC, which is basically our processor, and all the lines, all the 40 lines has been aligned in this way. That means 20 lines here, 20 lines here. So this kind of package is called DIP package. Now, point number 7 is very important. That is 8086, or preferably we can say 8088, is truly compatible with all the peripherals that we have and which are compatible with 8085 also. So the developer designed this processor in such a way that this processor should have relatively better performance in terms of its frequency, in terms of its instruction set and all other things. But you know, when you are talking about a programmable system which you want to design with this processor, a programmable system contains so many peripherals. Peripheral means all other elements, mainly IO chips, memories, etc., which are required to design a programmable system, because processor itself is not a programmable system. If we connect processor with all other peripherals, then as a whole it becomes a programmable system. So whatever peripheral we have till now that we have used with 8085, most of them are compatible with 8086. That makes this device is easy to understand and easy to use. And preferably 8086 has another variation that is called 8088. The architecture is same, but the advantage of 8088 over 8086 is that 8088 is truly compatible with 8085. So that means whatever I want to say, actually, whatever peripherals we can connect with 8085, we can connect them with 8086 as well as 8088 also. So that is the beautiful thing that you need to remember. Now the next one is all the registers of 8086 are of 16-bit. So remember, in case of 8085, we have certain registers which are 8-bit, we have certain another registers which are 16-bit, but here all the registers are 16-bit, and after certain time we will discuss all of them. Now the total memory, that is 1 MB memory, which can be accessed by 8086, is basically segmented into different categories. So these segments might not be a physical one, but mainly it's a logical one, and depending upon its function, it has 4 different names. They are basically called code segment memory, data segment memory, stack segment memory, and the last one is extra segment memory. So what does it mean? That particular segment of the memory, or that particular part of the memory which is used to store the program, that means the code itself, is called code segment memory. So similarly, that particular segment of the memory which is used to store data is called data segment memory. Another part of the memory or segment of the memory which is used to design or to implement stack, then it is called stack segment. Now extra segment, as the name suggests, it's an extra one. This extra one is used normally to store data also. So we can say in a broader sense that extra segment memory is somewhat similar to data segment one. So we know that the memory normally we use to store program to store data, and so many things. So here, depending upon the function that we want to perform with the memory is logically segmented into different parts. And remember, these segments are logical one. That means we might not find it physically available in the system. It's a logical segment, and these segments are designed to differentiate different parts of the memory which has different functionalities. Now, in the latter part of the video, maybe in the next video, I will try to explain the segment memory concept. So remember, this is something new because segment memory concept was not available in case of 8085, but in 8086, we need to remember that the total 1 MB of memory has a different segments. Now, how many segments are there? Remember, it has 16 segments. Total 16 segments are there. Each of these segments has a size of 64 KB. And remember, this size is very known to us because that is the maximum size of memory that we can access with 8085. So all the concept of memory interfacing or accessing memory that we have is still now limited to 64 KB. So here, though we can access much more amount of memory, but finally we have break it down into the units of 64 KB, which was similar to 8085, and that will give us several advantages when we will interface memory with the processor, and I will explain that one in the upcoming videos. So remember, the segment of the memory or the memory segmentation done in 16 parts. Depending upon their functions, they can be of 4 different types. The segment which stores the executable program itself is called code segment. The portion of the memory which holds data is called data segment. Which holds stack memory is called stack segment. And extra segment is another one kind of data segment. We can understand in this way. So total 64 segments, 16 segments are there. Each segment can have a size of 64 KB. Now, this is another important features of 8086 is that it works on 2 different modes. One is called minimum mode and the one is called maximum mode. That is another point where it makes a difference with 8085. What is minimum mode and what is maximum mode? So right now we should remember in this way, when 8085, 8086 works as a standalone processor to a particular programmable system, then it is called single processor. That means if a programmable system has only one processor and that itself is 8086, then it works on minimum mode. Now what is maximum mode? Now we can implement or design such kind of programmable system or programming system which has more than one processors available there. So 8086 has a capability to work with other processors also. So in that case, 8086 works in maximum mode. Okay. Now, so this is very important point, and once again we will explain that in the upcoming videos. The another features is that the architecture of 8086 can be divided into 2 parts. One is called BIU, another one is called EU. BIU is bus interface unit. This one, bus interface unit. EU is execution unit. So this architecture is very important. Once again, we have to remember this one. But till now, we will remember it has 2 parts. One is BIU and the one is EU. What is the function of BIU? We should remember in this way, bus interface unit. That means this portion of 8086 provides all the necessary hardware that is required to provide connection between different buses. Because we know in every processor or in every programmable system, at least we should have 3 different buses. One is data bus, another one is address bus, and third one is control bus. So these buses needs to be connected with the processor as well as with the IO devices. So the portion of the processor which provides or which holds this kind of connections, this kind of buses, is called bus interface unit. It also holds some sort of registers within BIU, and it holds prefetch execution queue, prefetch queue, instruction queue. I will explain that one. So remember, in case of BIU, it holds all the circuit necessary for buses. Point number 2, it has the circuit by which we can formulate physical address. What is physical address? Once again I will give a separate video by which you can understand. So remember, physical address has to be calculated, and that is done within BIU. Another point, remember, that is called prefetch instruction queue. That element is also available within BIU, and what is its function, we will explain that one. And certain registers are also there. And the main function of execution unit is that whatever instructions the processor has fetched from memory or from input device is basically gets executed within this region. So this portion holds all the necessary circuits by which we execute the instructions. The next one is called the pipeline architecture. So right now we already know this term, prefetch instruction queue. We have a 6-byte prefetch instruction queue which is basically used to implement this pipeline architecture, and that is the beauty of this 8086 processor, and due to which this processor is relatively faster with respect to 8085. So not because of the size of word length, that is it is 16-bit of word length which is double with respect to 8085, not because of its little bit higher amount of frequency that it works. This pipeline architecture also increases its execution speed. So combination of these three mainly makes this device relatively faster with respect to 8085. And we need to remember that the instruction set of 8086 is a powerful one. Powerful one means, what is the reference here? With respect to 8085, its instruction is little bit powerful. So we can give certain example. That is, we need to remember that in case of 8085, we have instructions for addition and subtraction operations, but we cannot do multiplication and division. But in case of 8086, we have dedicated instructions by which we can perform multiplications and divisions. So we can say that the functionality or the capability to perform is better in case of 8086. And the last point here I will mention, that is the interrupt process is a little bit more powerful in 8086 with respect to 8085. And we need to remember, a much better, much intelligent, much powerful processor means it also has a better interrupt process. Now what is interrupt? Already we know that interrupt is basically a process by which normally an IO device wants to get the attention of the processor so that processor does its work. So this particular device has a better interrupt process, and in the upcoming videos I will explain what are the interrupts that we have in 8086, right? And in a brief, or I will try to explain the registers of 8086 here. So already we know that all the registers of 8086 are 16-bit. So here different registers are there. We need to remember their names first, then I will explain their functions. So the registers of 8086 can be classified into 5 different groups depending upon their functions. The first one is called general purpose register. Second one is segment register. Third one is pointers. Fourth one is index register. Fifth one is flag and PSW. Flag or PSW. So what is general purpose register? It has 4 general purpose register: AX, BX, CX and DX. So X represent all of them are 16-bit registers. This concept is something similar in case of 8085 also, because you can remember in 8086 all the instructions has X basically denotes that it works on 16-bit registers. So we know this kind of concept. So it is implemented once again here: AX, BX, CX, DX. And remember, in most of the cases, the instructions that we have X within the opcode denotes that the operands are 16-bit register, but there are certain limitations also. We are talking this kind of thing in case of 8085. So here AX, BX, CX, DX, all these are 16-bit registers. The function of AX is the accumulator. BX is used to store offset. What is offset? I will explain later. CX is the default counter and DX is basically an implicit operand. So it is used in certain addressing modes, not in every cases. Now, so the accumulator is a 16-bit one. So in certain cases, if I need to implement a 8-bit accumulator, then we can use AL also. What is AL? Is the lower bit of this accumulator AX. AH represent the higher bit of the accumulator. So similarly, all the registers has a lower byte, higher byte, lower byte, higher byte, lower byte, higher byte. So this is the lower 8-bit, higher 8-bit. So if I need 8-bit accumulator, I will use only AL. If I need 16-bit accumulator, I will use AX. Right? And remember, AH to DL, all these registers can be used as 8-bit registers also individually. Now point number 2 is segment register. Here we have code segment register, stack segment register, data segment register, extra segment register. What is their function? They all contain the starting address or base address of segment memories. So we can relate here. The memories are classified into 4 different segments. Each segment should have a base address. That address would be denoted by a register, and then the registers are called this kind of names. So the register which contains the starting address or base address of code segment memory is called code segment register. The register which holds the starting address of data segment memory is called data segment register. The register which holds the starting address of stack segment memory is called stack segment register. Similarly, the register which holds the starting address or base address of extra segment memory is called extra segment register. Now point number 3 is called pointers. We have 3 pointers here: IP, BP and SP. IP is instruction pointer, BP is base pointer, SP is stack pointer. What is IP? IP holds the offset within code segment. So what is offset? I will explain that one, but here I need to remember IP holds offset within code segment only. Similarly, BP holds offset within data segment only. Similarly, SP, stack pointer, holds the offset within stack segment memory only. So in case of code segment memory, starting location will be denoted by code segment register and offset of this particular memory will be denoted by IP. That is important. So I am writing here. So CS register plus IP. So this one indicates the starting location, this one indicates the offset. Similarly, it has 2 registers. These are called index registers, SI and DI. Their name is source index, destination index. So they all define the offset of the source data and offset of destination data. These 2 registers mainly used in case of string manipulation. What is string manipulation? We will explain that one. So that is normally not used in every cases. In certain addressing modes, SI and DI is used. And the last one is flag. Here also we can find certain amount of differences with respect to 8085. We can remember in 8085 we have only 5 different flags are available. All of them are used to indicate the status of the accumulator during the execution of each instruction. Here in spite of 5 we have 6 different flags which indicates the status of the accumulator, and extra we have 3 different flags that is used for machine control. So what is their name? The status flags we have is carry, parity, auxiliary carry, 0 and sign. So these 5 names are common because we have studied this one in case of 8085. This O represents overflow. That is a new one. Overflow was not present in case of 8085. So these are the 6 status checking flags. Then we have 3 more flags which is called machine control flag. Their name is DIT, direction flag, interrupt flag, trap flag. So that is all for today. So if you have some sort of query related to this particular topic, let me know. Till then, thank you.